Despite the fact that one of the richest teams in the world have some of the best players and one of the best managers in recent history, it's fair to say that Manchester City have gone off the ball a little bit. How on earth are they going to sort this out in the January transfer window throughout the rest of the season? Well, that's what I'm going to look at today with a few ways that we can fix Manchester City. First off, and it's sorting their defence out. I mean, Aymeric Laporte getting injured for a whole load of time obviously isn't ideal, especially when you just got rid of club captain Vincent Kompany and haven't replaced him. They were beaten to the signature of Harry Maguire. I say beaten, maybe Guardiola didn't want to spend 80 million on the Englishman, but they just never replaced Kompany. Now, as I mentioned with the Laporte injury, they've got John Stones, maybe not living up to the potential when he signed from Everton. Nicolas Otamendi is so bad that they've had to put Fernandinho in centre-half, and apart from that, there's Eric Garcia, the youngster who's just starting to get a bit of game time. City need a centre-half. Now, for me, there are two options. First off, it's Kalidou Koulibaly, an unbelievable centre-back, and at age 27 is really entering his prime. He's going to slot straight into the team, have a fantastic impact, and maybe be that Virgil van Dijk kind of character the Liverpool signed in January 2 years ago. Of course, he will cost 70 to 80 million, but that's not really much for Manchester City. On the other hand, there's Ruben Diaz, again, linked with a lot of clubs and having a fantastic season yet again with Benfica, but maybe are they actually going to go for someone who doesn't have too much top-level experience, especially when you're going to go ahead and replace a club legend like Vincent Kompany? Personally, I think either of them will do the trick, and I know it's not like Manchester City to come out and spend big in January, but I think they really need to do so. That way, when Laporte comes back, they've got two world-class centre-backs. Laporte literally is the only top-class defender they've got in the whole back four, never mind just the centre-backs. And talking of some of those back four, well, we're going to look at the left-back area as well, because personally, I think City need a new one. Now, I know what you're going to say, Matt, that's ridiculous. They've already got three. Yeah, they've got three who are either injured or inconsistent. Angelino looks like he's got a ceiling. He's come back to Manchester City, but he's not going to quite develop into that world-class player. Remember, if City want to be winning Champions Leagues, they're going to have an Alaba, a Marcelo, a Jordi Alba kind of player. They can't really rely on Angelino, and the same thing goes for Zinchenko. In the case of Benjamin Mendy, I honestly do believe he could potentially try and reach that level, but he's just always injured. The guy can't stay off the injury table, and it's no fault of his own, but Manchester City needs someone they're going to rely on. Just like PSG are trying to rely on Neymar in the Champions League, it's just not happening. So what can Manchester City do? Try bringing a new left back. There aren't really many available at the moment, and they haven't been linked with any apart from Ben Chilwell, but that was maybe just a rumour. So I'm going to stick my neck out and say that either Jordi Alba or Luca Digne would be perfect signings for City. They haven't been talked about. I don't think they're going to happen. I just think it would be a good choice. But moving on and talking of sorting out the defence, how about sorting out the midfield? More specifically, the attacking midfield options. This is where things get really tricky for Manchester City. In their full-flowing best, they're unbelievable. There's no defence in the world that can stop them. But when they've got a few injuries here and there, or when they aren't necessarily playing at their best, things rather go to pot and often leaves the striker isolated. Raheem Sterling is a definite starter. Unbelievable, one of the best in the world. I think we can also agree with Bernardo Silva. The problem that City have got, though, is that David Silva's running his contract down. He said he's leaving the club at the end of the summer, and they all love him. He's been brilliant for 10 years at City, but they've actually got to go and replace him. The natural made replacement is Phil Foden, but Guardiola's not giving him any minutes. If Silva's leaving, and he doesn't trust Foden to play enough, what's he going to do? They either need to sign an attacking midfielder in the middle in the number 10 role, or they let Bernardo Silva go in there and they bring in another winger. Now, they've got to bring in another winger because it looks like, for all intents and purposes, Leroy Sané is leaving. Bayern Munich is still interested in him despite the fact he's got a big injury and may not be back until February. So if they're going to go and spend 100 million on him, see, you've got some money to play with. Mikel Oyarzabal, the Real Sociedad winger, has been linked with Pep Guardiola's side, but there's also, of course, Riyad Mahrez in there as well. Someone, again, who may struggle to stay off the injury table in the long term. Personally, I think that Oyarzabal would be a good signing if Sané goes, but also, you've got to ask the question, if Sané's worth 100 million, he's one of the best in the world and has years to develop, why are they letting him go in the first place? Seems like him and Guardiola just don't get along, and maybe he's going to be moving to Bayern. So with Silva in the middle and maybe someone like Mahrez on the other side, and of course there's also Phil Foden, well, they should be set. I'm not overly convinced. Maybe you guys let me know. If Manchester City could sign one number 10, who would it be? And lastly but not least, fixing Manchester City actually may come down to the board and the future of Pep Guardiola. We've seen it before. He spends a few years at each club, a cycle almost, and then leaves because he leaves on his terms. 4 years at Barcelona, followed by 3 years at Bayern, and now he's coming towards the second half of his 4th season at Manchester City. If they know he's going to be there in the long run, fine, back him with hundreds of millions, give him the players that he wants. If they're not, and they know that Guardiola's not going to be there, and maybe they're going to have to change their style of play, and maybe even lose some players if they lose Guardiola, they're going to have to think about a replacement and the kind of players that they want to bring in the future. Maybe there's a few players in there that Guardiola has loads of trust in, but other managers wouldn't. Vice versa, maybe he's not bringing some of the fantastic youth products that he could do, whereas the new manager would give them the chance. Hopefully, if the board can sort this out and get Guardiola to say what his future plans are, or to get him to sign a new contract, they can then start figuring out the squad and where they're going to take it in the future. Remember the likes of Sergio Aguero, 31 years old. As we said, David Silva's leaving at the end of the season. It's the end of the company era. Fernandinho's getting on 35. They're going to need a slight overhaul, and they best start planning for it now. So there you have it, a few ways in which we can fix Manchester City. I say we, I kind of mean the club. But you guys let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Are Koulibaly or Diaz a good signing? Will Oyarzabal join the club? And what should happen to Phil Foden and his lack of minutes? Maybe a loan deal somewhere. Of course, whilst you're there, you can smash the like button down below and click here or here to check out all of the other videos we've got going on Onefootball. But until next time, I will see you guys later.